Who's seen this film, Dan, in real life?
I have.
It was pretty darn funny. In the 2007 film, Dan in Real Life, Dan Burns, who's played by one of my favorites, Steve Carell, suggests to readers of his newspaper advice column, which is what he did for a living, about the best way to advise young people concerning how they should plan for the future. He said, instead of telling our young people to plan ahead, we should tell them to plan to be surprised. He learned how surprised in his role here. I remember that. Anyway, I remember that quote a couple days ago when I was preparing this talk after reading the text to a podcast by Shankar Vedantam, that's him right here, about how to make the most of life's new chapters. New chapters meaning a new career, a new love interest, just anything that shakes your world up. This was one of Vedantam's social science podcasts from his Hidden Brain series. But first, some background on Vedantam from Wikipedia and NPR Radio, so you'll know NPR's National Public Radio, just so you'll know how valid this person is. Shankar Vedantam is an accomplished scholar, author, successful journalist, and entrepreneur, widely known for his expertise in advising people on how to recognize how our brain works and how to adapt this knowledge to be extraordinarily capable of great change. Does anyone hear some shadows of the science of mind philosophy in that statement? I do. Vedantam is an American journalist, writer, science correspondent. He earned an undergraduate degree in electronics engineering in India and a master's degree in journalism at Stanford in the US. He's the host and creator of the Hidden Brain podcast, which receives more than 3 million downloads per week. The Hidden Brain radio show is distributed by NPR and featured on nearly 400 public radio stations around the US. Vedantam was NPR's social science correspondent between 2011 and 2020 and spent 10 years as the reporter at the Washington Post from 2007 to 2009. He was also a columnist and wrote in the Department of Human Behavior column for the Post. Almost done. Vedantam and Hidden Brain have been recognized with numerous scholastic and service awards and recognition for his work in science, psychology, psychoanalysis, journalism, public health, and religion. Vedantam is the author of the nonfiction book, this book right here, The Hidden Brain, How Our Unconscious Minds Elect Presidents, Control Markets, Wage Wars, and Save Our Lives. The book published in 2010 described how unconscious biases influence people. He is also co-author with Bill Messler of the 2021 book, Useful Delusions, The Power and Paradox of the Self-Deceiving Brain. So a very talented individual. This is the last bit. He lectured at Harvard University and Columbia University, served on the advisory board of the Templeton Cambridge Fellowships in Science and Religion, and has been a senior scholar at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars in Washington. Okay, enough of that. The title of this podcast that I read, actually didn't listen to it, Your Brain is Hardwired to Resist Change. Don't I know it? Here's how to retrain it. The introduction by the host, Shamita Basu, was intriguing. Transitions can feel intimidating and destabilizing, but these moments can also be opportunities for growth, reflection, and self-discovery, especially when you have the right tools. Well, what are those? The paradox of change. I think Darylyn will like this picture. Oh, she's busy. Vedantam began some time ago. I was talking with Rick Potts. He's a paleontologist. And I was asking him what makes humans different from other species on the planet. Because he was a paleontologist, he thought he might know. One of the things Potts said was so interesting to me, that humans distinguish themselves by being extraordinarily adaptable. If you look at our long history on the planet, humans live in desert climates, we live near oceans, we live near rivers, we live in altitude. Some of us have learned to live underwater for extended periods of time, or in outer space. That's pretty adaptable for extended periods of time. No other species comes close to humans in terms of our adaptability. At the same time, periods of adaptation and change often feel incredibly stressful for us. And many of us recoil from making those changes. And this is a paradox that I think is at the heart of how our brains process change. We're very adaptable, and on the other hand, we're very reluctant to make changes. We're often very fearful of it. Vedantam offers 3 simple questions you can ask yourself to help cultivate a sense of purpose and meaning during times of transition. Number 1, am I doing something that I love? Or am I contemplating something I would love to do? 2, am I going to be good doing it? 3, does the world need what it is I'm going to be doing? At the intersection of these answers to those 3 questions often lies a clue to what you should be doing with your life. And I know this is geared towards a sort of a career mode, but keep in mind, the implication is this is applicable to all big transitions in our lives. Now, let's say they're a very good accountant. Now, they've checked box 2. They're good at it. They probably checked box 3 because the world needs accountants. But let's say the person doesn't enjoy being an accountant. Now, you found a job, you found a profession, but that profession can seem like drudgery to you because you're good at it. The world needs it. You get a paycheck, but you're not happy doing it. Does anyone know any really happy accountants? My sister's one. I could speak for that. I think when you try to and think of activities that you can do, the question to really ask is, among the choices that are right before me right now, what is a choice that would allow me to most do what I love to do, what I'm good at doing, and what the world needs? Now, the thing that makes this really tricky is that what you love to do is going to change over time. This is true with relationships as well. What you love today is not going to be what you love 10 years from now or 20 years from now. Scary. What you're good at doing is also going to change over time. Because as we practice things and as we learn from others, our skill sets change. And in fact, we can get better at doing things over time. And finally, what the world needs is also going to change. Tell my brother that he got a degree in graphic design just when the internet was taking off, became largely irrelevant. For him, he was ended up selling graphics to people that needed print jobs. That changed abruptly. So all these things are dynamic, but the fact that you don't know what the answer is going to be in 20 years from now should not be reason for paralysis today. Oh, we're getting close to the root here. Vedantam said, we want to make sense of the world. We want to make sense of our choices. When the world doesn't make sense to us, it can feel destabilizing. The problem here is that the world often is messy. I'm thinking back to that movie. His life was a mess. The choices we make are often messy. And sometimes because we are looking for this cognitive closure, we want to simplify things and feel like we can tie a bow on it. It doesn't work like that. We reach prematurely for an answer, and that answer turns out to actually not be the right answer or a good answer. And so in some ways, being able to sit with uncertainty, to sit with ambivalence, to thrive in some ways in the face of contradiction, turns out to be a very powerful life skill. The more we're able to sit with uncertainty, the less uncertainty feels threatening to us. And sometimes when you sit with those contradictions, new ideas and insights can emerge. But that requires a certain amount of inner mental strength, if you will, the spine to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I should be doing. Is it possible that I'm not going to know what I should be doing and that I'm okay with that? The future will reveal itself to me in due course of time. Curiosity, humility, and bravery. He goes on, in the course of a recent TED Talk, I offered 3 pieces of advice. I said, the 3 engines that can shape our lives are curiosity, humility, and bravery. Curiosity tells us, let me look for what the next option is. I might not be able to peer very far into the undergrowth of the forest, but I can see what's in front of me. And by getting to that next step, I'll be able to see a little bit more. Curiosity, in some ways, is an engine that drives us forward and moves us through life. Humility is very important too, because once you recognize that your future self might not agree with you on something, it gives you some pause in terms of the confidence with which you make life choices, or the confidence with which you make pronouncements. I'm going to be an accountant. Because in some ways, your future self might have very different views than you do today. My father built a hospital with partners at age 33, but he only operated it for 20 years, 22 years. And then what did he do? He retired and became an artist. He was much happier. He ran an art gallery. It is important to remind ourselves that even though we don't have those capacities today, our future selves might in fact have those capacities, which is why it's important to be brave today. And the last idea that I tried to bring across in the TED Talk, this is Vedantam continuing, is that while it's true that our future selves might be weaker or frailer than us, or might have preferences that are very different from us, it's also the case that our future selves are going to have capacities that we don't have today. They're going to have strengths and wisdom that we don't have today. So if a change emerges before us, and there's a voice inside of your head that says, I don't think I'm up to it. I don't think I have it in me to be able to do this difficult thing, whatever it is. It's important to remind ourselves that even though we don't have those capacities today, our future selves, in fact, might have those capacities, which is why it's important to be brave today. This whole process reminds me of the concept of Wu Wei, as explained by Bruce Lee's teacher, Yip Man, in my talk here. I guess it's been about 3 weeks ago, in which he said Yip is giving Bruce Lee advice in Hong Kong as he's teaching him Kung Fu. Reserve yourself by following the natural bends of things and don't interfere. Remember never to assert yourself against nature. Never be in frontal opposition to any problems, but control by swinging with it. And to review and wrap up, in dealing with transitions in life, the 3 engines that shape us are curiosity, humility, and bravery. Curiosity to drive us forward. Humility to give us pause and confidence in considering what to do next. And bravery in facing the fact that while things are likely to change, our future selves will be different too. You will have capacity, strength, and wisdom that you don't have today. 3 questions that we mentioned. To ask yourself concerning a transition are, am I doing something that I love, or am I contemplating something I would love to do? Am I going to be good at doing it? Does the world need what it is I'm going to be doing? These are wise concepts, and although the example in the podcast was for career transitions, they can be applied to any of the transitions in our lives.